What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sweat. Say hello to DraftKings Contributor Pearce Dietrich. All right, Pierce, we're going to take a look at some NFL division specials on the DK Sportsbook prior to the NFL draft. So we heard from Reed and Jeff on the NFC West and AFC North. So let's focus on those divisions today. All right, the reigning Super Bowl champs coming from the NFC West, of course. This coming season, the Rams are plus 150 to finish in first place in that division. So would they be your pick to earn the top spot? And how do you feel about those odds at plus 150?
I'm not very bullish on the Rams. There's going to be a little bit of that Super Bowl hangover, but also that's a really strong division, and a lot of teams are on the upward swing. I like San Francisco. They almost went to the Super Bowl with an average quarterback that was injured. So if Jimmy Garoppolo can just be healthy, then they can get it done. And we don't know if he's going to be the quarterback or not. Maybe Trey Lance is going to be the starting quarterback, and Trey Lance has got to be better than an injured Jimmy Garoppolo. So I like what San Francisco has. And then also with the Rams, I think we just kind of overreacted to them winning a Super Bowl. If we look at the entirety of the season, they were a very inconsistent team. Yes, they were consistent down the stretch, but if you look at their playoff run, it was probably the easiest playoff schedule that we've ever seen, facing an injured Arizona team, then facing an injured Tampa Bay team, then facing an injured San Francisco team, and then they beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl, and no one expected Cincinnati to be, a top 5 team entering the playoffs. So I think we're a little too high on the Rams. Also, losing Andrew Whitworth to retirement is going to be a huge loss for them. I like San Francisco in this division.
All right, so earlier in the show, we did hear Jeff talk about the needs for last year's runner-up, the Bengals, who you just mentioned, and the rest of that AFC North division. This could be another tight one, obviously, but with the Browns adding Deshaun Watson, they're actually favored to win it at plus 175. Is there a team you'd rather bet your money on in that division, or do you like that Browns pick?
I like the Ravens. I get that the Browns are going to be a favorite with Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. You've got Nick Chubb, and that defense, when healthy, is fine. But, boy, we are really doing the Ravens a disservice. Last August, going into the season, they were the favorite. And then within a course of a couple of days, they lost both running backs, several offensive linemen. Their secondary just fell day by day. And then eventually they lost Lamar Jackson. You get all those players back, then I like the Ravens a lot in this division. Ultimately, I think injuries are going to determine what we're going to see. You look back last season, Jamar Chase completely shifted the entire division. And in August, people thought he was a bust because of the lines on the football. It's a really tough division, hard to get a read. But ultimately, I think the Ravens are the team that I like to see win it all.
All right, so from off-season football to in-season football, because this week was the first week of the new USFL. That's right. We had one game postponed due to weather. That's going to play tonight. We're going to get to that in a minute. But first, what were your overall takeaways from week 1 of the USFL action?
Overall, it's pretty good. The offenses were a little sloppier, inefficient. He had trouble getting to the ball to the wide receivers on the edges, but underneath, it was fine. The running games were fine. You saw some pretty strong defensive play. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good, exciting week.
All right, so as we mentioned, that week 1 Tampa Bay Bandits Pittsburgh Maulers game, it was postponed due to weather. It's going to play tonight. That means we have a DraftKings showdown contest for the action. So who are you going to captain in this one?
Jordan Teamo was the guy going into the week, and he's definitely going to be the guy going into this game. As I mentioned, the offenses were very inefficient. The passing games just weren't there. We saw a lot of dinking and dunking, short routes, hitches, slants, underneath routes. That's the way to go. Also, we saw quarterbacks be very effective running the ball. Well, this is basically set up perfectly for Teamo. When you watched him in the XFL, that's exactly what he did. A bunch of short underneath routes and then him running the ball. And so I think this is going to be an excellent game for him, an excellent matchup. It plays right to his strengths. And Teamo is probably going to be the big scorer tonight.
All right, how about a value pick for the people here, Pierce?
I'm going with Madre London. Now, he may not be the RB number 1 for Pittsburgh, but if you watch the USFL this weekend, there really wasn't an RB number 1. Every team was going 50-50 or committee, so he should be able to get it done. As I mentioned, the passing games just haven't been efficient. They haven't been explosive, but one thing that we have seen is the teams are able to run the ball on the ground and get the ball to the running backs through the air. This is a run-first offense. Even before we saw that the passing wasn't working, Pittsburgh was going to be a run-heavy team. Madre London ran for 2,000 yards in the EuroLeague. He might split time with Garrett Groshek, and I don't mind playing them both together. Groshek's more of the receiving guy for them coming out of Wisconsin. He backed up Jonathan Taylor. And I know people don't like to play 2 running backs from a team, but this isn't NFL fantasy. This is USFL fantasy, and you can play both those guys together.
Is there anyone, Pierce, that you would like just completely recommend people stay away from?
I want to stay away from Kyle Lauletta. I think Lauletta, he's going to be a fine quarterback throughout the season. But as I mentioned, the passing games, they're just inefficient. They're not explosive. It's hard to get the ball to the receivers on the edge. I mean, you've got like 6'4" receivers that are very fast. You wonder, well, why are these guys in the USFL? It's because they can't catch. It's because they're not very good at running routes. But underneath, they can move the ball. They can work the ball to tight ends. And the offenses are looking okay. It's just not really piling up fantasy points. Lauletta will probably have a good game, and the pocket passes eventually will be better. But right now, you really want to go to the run-first quarterbacks. You want to play the running backs that are also catching the balls on the backfield. Also, tight ends have been very evolved in these offenses. The one strength that we've seen on defense is the pass rush, and the secondaries have been pretty strong. So you don't really want to attack that. Also, Tampa on paper is the strongest defense. So Lauletta could have a good game, but I would much rather play Te'amu.